One gloomy day sometime in 1976, the townspeople of the sleepy and peaceful town of Moncayo in the province of Davao de Oro, southern Philippines, were gathered at the back of the municipal hall. Gloom and horror pervaded the atmosphere that day. The townspeople were curiously trying to take a peek at the body of a communist guerrilla fighter while it was being examined by the medico-legal. Incidents like these were rare in this once peaceful town. It was a peaceful town until the communists started their deadly killing spree. People could be tried and shot if found guilty by a kangaroo court. A man could be killed by just a pointed finger from one of the peasants that they call their masses. The communist guerrilla fighter, whose body was being examined by the medico-legal, was slain during an encounter with the Philippine Scout Rangers. What puzzled the townspeople was one of the soldiers who brought the body to the municipal hall was crying unabashedly. It turned out he was crying for the guerrilla fighter that he had shot in battle. Before we go on, so let me ask you one question. Have you ever wondered what your soulmate looks like? What kind of person they are? What does your future together hold? With a soulmate sketch drawn by a psychic, you can glimpse your romantic future and learn more about the person you're destined to be with. I was curious too, and this is what the psychic gave me. Order your soulmate sketch from a psychic now and click on the link below. Full disclosure. For every order, I earn an affiliate commission that supports this channel. So back to our story. 6 years before that incident, the first day of school in first-year high school unfurled for both Ireneo and Arnie. Arnie is a stunningly beautiful teen. But beyond her physical attributes, she possesses an analytical mind. Ireneo is an athletic individual. He moves with exceptional agility and powerful, swift movements. At their age, the fog of innocence had started to lift its veil. It surfaced in stolen glances and lingered in whispered words even in the classrooms. Ireneo could not restrain himself from shooting stolen glances at Arnie. As Arnie's friends Judith and Elena looked on, they couldn't help but giggle at the numerous stolen glances Ireneo darted towards Arnie. Playfully, they kept count of how many times Ireneo darted glances at Arnie within 5 minutes. Unfortunately for Arnie's friends, their strict teacher, Mr. Rudy Garcias, a disciplinarian, had been observing them, and they were told to stand for the duration of the class as a punishment for misbehaving in the class. Arnie is not ready to accept Ireneo, citing that she is too young to commit to a relationship. One day after classes, Ireneo asked Arnie to walk with her to her home. Arnie refused, but Ireneo was insistent, so Arnie simply ignored him as if he didn't exist. Halfway through her house, rain started to fall. Arnie had an umbrella, but she ignored Ireneo, and she didn't even ask Ireneo to share her umbrella. Ireneo was already soaking wet halfway through Arnie's house. She told him to go because he was already soaking wet, but Ireneo refused. He wanted to see her home. So Arnie simply ignored him throughout the walk. Inside her house, Arnie could see Ireneo soaking wet and shivering from the cold outside, waiting for the rain to stop. Looking at him secretly through the slits of the jalousies, something plucked at her heartstrings, but she ignored it. Even though they were classmates and only a few seats apart, Ireneo sent Arnie short love letters every day without fail. She read all of it but threw it into the trash after reading it. Later, Marites, one of Arnie's friends, sorts the garbage can for the letter, and the following morning the whole class is informed of what's going on between Ireneo and Arnie. Marite's mouth frothed with her saliva because of her incessant talking. The season for the school sports competition arrived, and Ireneo was training hard for the competition because he wanted to win and impress Arnie. Meanwhile, Arnie became agitated. She noticed that she hadn't been receiving any of the love letters she used to receive daily, and Marites also wondered why there was no letter in the garbage can. Perhaps tomorrow he will send me a letter, Arnie consoled herself. Tomorrow arrived, and at the end of the day, Arnie did not receive the much-expected letter. Hurt and confused, Arnie began searching for an answer to explain the sudden change in Ireneo's usual behavior. She began to observe him, and one day she saw him engrossed in a conversation with the alluring school's band majorette Lily. Lily is very intelligent, and her family owns the town's cinema. A pang gripped her heart. She felt the urge to cry. It was the first taste of jealousy taking root within her. She began asking her friends if there was any letter from Ireneo for her, but she received the same answer every time. There was none. To Arnie's mind, Ireneo had ignored her, and this added to her growing unease. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something had changed between them, and this bothered her so much that her friends noticed she was not in her usual self. As days passed, Arnie mustered the courage to confront Ireneo. After the athletic activities concluded, Arnie sought out Ireneo. However, he was nowhere to be found after class. Disheartened, she walked the distance to her home. Halfway to her house, a figure loomed in the distance. It was Ireneo. She could sense he was waiting for somebody. She could hear her heart beating loudly as she neared him. Is he waiting for Lily? The thought hurt her. When she turned to look at her back, Lily was following some 50 meters away. The pain Arnie felt showed on her face, however. She tried to hide it, but deep inside her heart she was crying in secret. As she drew closer, Ireneo came up to her surprisingly and inquired if he could accompany her on the way home. A smile suddenly spread across Arnie's face involuntarily. At the same time, tears of happiness also flowed freely down her cheeks. She attempted to suppress it, but her mixed grin and tears were irrepressible and could not be hidden from Ireneo. That became the pivotal moment of their relationship. They became inseparable from then on, and their relationship blossomed into a love affair. Time passed like a blur. The bittersweet promise of a new beginning came, and graduation day arrived. After the class photo shoot, Arnie asked the photographer to take a snapshot of them both. They were standing side by side happily in their toga in that photo. Arnie pressed a copy of the photo to Ireneo's hand and told him, "Keep this and don't lose it so you will not forget me. Do you promise me?" She told him, and Ireneo replied, "I promise, and promise me too you will answer all my letters." "I will reply to all your letters even if you have not sent any," she replied to him jokingly. The two of them promised with teary eyes to bridge the mile that would soon stretch between the two of them. After graduation, Arnie and Ireneo's paths diverged.